did you know that there's a National Advisory Committee on Performance Management, and it's sponsored by all of the big professional associations for finances in state and local government? And that's because it's about something that's very important, taking responsibility for producing results that matter to people. If you have, particularly those of you that don't surf government websites very much, if you have a few minutes one day, if things are slow at the office, just get on the internet and Google Virginia Performs. Look at the extraordinary lengths to which that state, just as one example, is going to convince its citizens and taxpayers that it is very serious about serving their needs. Now, Virginia was ranked #1 on 2 recent performance surveys, but virtually all states are focusing on developing ways to increase results and reduce costs. There are 2 good reasons: the long economic downturn, which has left state coffers pretty empty everywhere, and rising public expectations about getting something for their tax dollars. So we wanted to bring people to our meeting who would talk about state government initiatives in our neck of the woods, and that's what this panel is all about. Let me introduce our 3 speakers in the order that they'll appear. First, David Thorpe, Director of Customer Focused Government for the state of Tennessee. You won't appreciate this till you see behind the podium, but we did a national search for somebody that was younger looking and more experienced than David Perry was last year when he was on the phone. We found him right next door in Tennessee. David actually has roots here in Alabama, but somehow he wandered out of God's country and ended up in the volunteer state with a very intriguing job title, and he's going to tell us all about it. He'll describe the current efforts to make Tennessee government more businesslike and some of the major initiatives they're undertaking. Second will be David Perry, Chief of Staff to Governor Robert Bentley. David has spent the past year overseeing the work of the Governor's Commission to Improve State Government, which was announced at our meeting here last year, and has brought people from the private and public sectors together to focus on initiatives to improve the way we manage our state's operations. I've been fortunate enough to be a member of that commission and seen how valuable that collaboration between public and private can be. David also is involved in a number of other priorities for the Bentley administration, and he'll discuss his efforts and his leadership of different projects to improve government in our state. Third, but certainly not least, the Honorable Marsh, President Pro Tem of the Alabama State Senate. The saying goes, and it's certainly true in our day and in our state, that the governor proposes but the legislature disposes. Senator Marsh has been involved in a number of governmental improvement initiatives since taking office, and just to name a few: the streamlining of the Senate staff soon after he took office, a constitutional revision commission, task forces on reorganization and other issues related to state government, and job creation and education reform measures, some just the other day, that he's been involved in. Senator Marsh will talk about his current priorities for improving Alabama government. And so now for David Thorpe to lead off.
Thanks, Jim. I'm glad to represent the Young Bucks Council right now. I'm so young I might talk really fast because I know we're a little behind schedule, so hang on as we go. I want to thank you, special thanks to PARCA for inviting me to participate in this meeting and for the chance to return back to my home state, to Alabama, to share with you some of the things that we're having the opportunity to do now in Tennessee to make our government there more efficient and effective. I'd also like to convey the condolences and sympathies of Tennessee as we're once again forced to face the destruction of yet another natural disaster. And as we continue to move forward, both of our states, I know that there's a lot that we can learn from each other. There's no need for us to reinvent the wheel every 4 to 8 years, as we sometimes have a tendency to do in government. So I continue after today to continue to spur each other on in all the surrounding states to serve our taxpayers better, to be more efficient and effective, and to learn from each other. We're all in the same boat. We've just talked about it today. We hear that this is a tough time. We're experiencing budget deficits, reduction in federal funding, reduction in our own state workforces, a lot of tough times. Yet, unlike many of the private industries of the real estate market, the demand on the services of state governments right now is actually high. Because of the nature of our services, the demand is up, yet unfortunately some of our funding is down. So we're increasingly being asked to do more with less. And when we fail, state government, again, is called incompetent or lazy. Yet private industry, on the other hand, they have to wake up every single day, proactively seek ways to do more with less. It's part of the competitive nature of capitalism. So, they have to cut costs while they improve their services, or they'll quickly be out of business, or worse, asking for another bailout. I know in Tennessee, we have desires to see government run more like a business. That means to spend taxpayer money wisely, but also to a greater effect. When Governor Haslam was elected last year, he pledged to run our government more like a business. And to that end, he's enacted a few initiatives that I'd like to talk about today that I'm involved in. First, he asked every department to do a thorough top-to-bottom review of their businesses to see, number one, what the state's doing well, number two, what the state could be doing better, number three, maybe what the state shouldn't be doing at all. Secondly, we have a sub-cabinet of executive-level staff and departmental heads that essentially we're calling customer-focused government, and they meet every other week to look at all the sort of services across the agencies and to look at how the state could serve internally our customers better as well as externally to the public, to the taxpayers, how to do it more streamlined, how to be more efficient and more economical with our services there. Running government more like a business means not only finding these individual opportunities to improve efficiency, but even more, to permanently transform the state of Tennessee's culture so that every day we're perpetually unearthing ways to cut costs while improving our services. So therefore, the approach I'd like to talk about today is going to involve some specific opportunities for efficiency that we've identified in the top-to-bottom review in customer-focused government. And I'll give some examples there, but I also want to mention a larger organizational and cultural adjustment that we're making in Tennessee to improve the focus on our customer, improve the focus on accountability, and improve our focus on effective outcomes. So to start, I'll mention a few of these specific opportunities for increased efficiency. They're concrete, sort of tangible examples. Little by little, these types of projects will make a big change, and already are in Tennessee. Start off in the IT realm. Our customer-focused government, for example, simply found just by better deployment of hardware and software, our state can start saving about $4 million a year. A good example was we went out and we found that for every one printer in the state of Tennessee, there are 2.8 employees. One printer for 2.8 employees. We have 42,000 employees in the state of Tennessee, and a lot of them don't have computers. So simply by just a better reallocating of our printer, making sure not everybody has a printer on the desk, we could save about $2.4 million annually. Again, in other areas, enhancing the implementation of large IT projects. Even in the private industry, a Harvard Business Review study found that basically 1 in 6 large IT projects is not delivered on time and on budget. On average, there's about a 200% overrun on costs on these large IT projects. It's a serious issue in the public and the private industry. Tennessee this year actually has put together a group that we're calling the Business Solutions Delivery. It's a group of IT experts and project management experts that are going to go around the state as we implement these large systems to make sure that it's going to take them from the cradle all the way to successful implementation to prevent those big costly setbacks and failures that are plaguing private industry as well as the states. And so that again will be millions of dollars in savings and cost avoidance really on down the road. Another great opportunity for increased efficiency is simply better management of our real estate portfolio. In Tennessee, when we came into office, believe it or not, there was not a comprehensive list of our real estate holdings, our locations, or where the employees were housed. We didn't know that. So we've come in and we've created this a new division called the Real Estate Asset Management Division. And now, not only can we locate our buildings, but we're visiting them, and we're encouraging departments to co-locate. So instead of having 6 different departments in 6 different buildings in Knoxville, and Memphis, and Cookeville, maybe we can start consolidating everyone in the same building. Instead of 6 receptionists, we have 1 receptionist. We reduce fixed costs by doing this, and also increase the convenience for the citizens who can never find their buildings anyways. This office space consolidation project will save the state millions of dollars over the coming years. Purchasing is another example where Tennessee's found a lot of opportunities to be more efficient. We recently hired a new chief procurement officer, and basically they're going through our processes and contracts. There's a lot of outdated processes and backlogs that has caused poor management of a handful of our contracts. One in particular example is our office found that we have in the state of Tennessee 140 different janitorial contracts. If you're unfamiliar with purchasing practices of goods and services, think about going to Sam's Club. Buying in bulk is good. Okay, 140 different janitorial contracts would be like you going to the vending machine and buying 140 single Cokes rather than buying them in bulk and buying 12 packs. That means 140 times you walk to the vending machine, you insert your money, you grab your Coke, you take your change, and you walk out and you do it over and over again. That's what it's like doing these contracts like that. Not efficient, not effective, not economical. Neither is it for janitorial contracts. So Tennessee now is restructuring our organization and our processes, again, to ensure wiser purchasing that, again, will save the state millions of dollars in the coming years. These are just, again, a couple of the sort of specific concrete ways that Tennessee is trying to be more efficient and effective. There's a lot of opportunities like this through customer-focused government and our top-to-bottom review that will have significant impact on our finances as well as our services. But also in Tennessee, we believe we cannot solely focus on just the outcomes and these individual efficiencies while neglecting the processes and the culture that allow these inefficiencies to be born in the first place. So before I go further and explain the way that Tennessee is hoping to really standardize this mindset, doing more with less, I'd like to spend just a little bit of time explaining, because I know we have a lot of business leaders here, why running government like a business is an uphill battle, and maybe even more so than you think. It's one that we think is a noble battle, but we must acknowledge that it's difficult and it's a marathon. And some of the idiosyncrasies that make state government like it is also explains part of the approach that we're taking in Tennessee. Some of you might have already thought to yourself, as you've heard today, talking about the words efficient, effective, customer service. Those are starkly contradictory to the word government. I mean, why is it we never hear of state government with the kind of customer service like Ritz-Carlton, or a kind of proficiency and productivity of Toyota? Sounds almost comical sometimes, but I would say the answer we found is it's not because state employees don't work hard, it's not because they don't care. The answer, more often than not, is that the culture and the systems that we've created are not allowing our services and our employees to flourish. One author wrote this quote that if we observe a foolish outcome, we assume it's done by a fool. But in government, it's more likely a reasonable person functioning within a foolish system. We, state governments, we are large and we are very complex. Tennessee has about a $30 billion budget, 42,000 employees, 22 departments. This makes efficiency difficult, as you can imagine. I'd say we're a Walmart of services. In fact, we probably have more variety of services than Walmart. For example, we have to be experts in Tennessee of road construction while also know how to care for foster kids. We oversee highway patrolmen and National Guards for our safety, but we also run hospitals for those with mental and intellectual disabilities. In Tennessee, we safely secure nearly 20,000 inmates in state prisons, while also regulating about 10,000 institutions and individuals providing financial services. Our state is tasked with educating our children, while also providing permits, inspections, and oversight for massage therapists, scrap metal companies, honeybee colonies, restaurants, amusement park devices, and the elevators you'll ride in if you come and visit your northerly neighbor. I venture to say state government is probably invested in more businesses than Berkshire Hathaway. My point is that to provide good service for all that state government is tasked with doing is to master efficiency and effectiveness on an entire compendium and an entire spectrum of services. That's not an excuse, but it's the reality. State government's business is not a niche market, and it will never be a niche market. It is, in a sense, all markets. And so to centrally manage state government more like a business, therefore, is not an easy task. To compound this issue, we in state government do not have to face the competition in private industry. The customers in state government are, in fact, our hostages. You are our captives for services. We as state government do not ever have to say the customer is always right. I'm sure you know this, but you actually have nowhere else to go to get your driver's license. As our hostages, you can yell and scream all you want, but by law, you have to continue to buy our services. That's a very efficient, effective monopoly, really. All that to say, Tennessee believes running government more like a business is the right thing to do, but realize that this is not an overnight change. We are a unique business with significant hurdles to overcome. So in Tennessee, we're initiating some different initiatives and projects to overcome some of these obstacles, to seize these opportunities for creating, again, a lasting culture of efficient, effective government, to fundamentally rethink the way we do business in Tennessee. This involves empowering our workers, focusing on our processes, and promoting customer service in a lot of ways. That's really part of our management culture that we're going towards, as well as increasing performance management and looking at the outcomes. One tool in particular that we believe is a promising answer is the utilization of lean management in state government. For those of you unfamiliar with lean, it's a continuous improvement philosophy developed by Toyota, and it's now very, very common in a lot of private industry sectors. Lean focuses essentially on business processes. It looks at your systems so that you maximize the value for the customer while minimizing the roadblocks, and you do this by engaging the employees all across the board. So, too often in state government, we see a problem and we address the symptom without ever actually addressing the root cause. For example, we have a team right now that's looking at the call centers, pro bono consultants, nonprofit folks, state government, and city employees. Unfortunately, we have a handful of call centers with high wait times and too many drop calls. And so traditionally, and maybe intuitively, the response would have been, let's hire more employees, let's buy some more phones and throw some resources at it, and that'll fix it. That'll lower the wait times, right? But if we take the time to actually pull back the curtain, look at the processes, look at the systems that are feeding these outcomes, and start asking questions like, why are people calling in the first place? Are they even equipped to answer the questions that people are calling? A lot of times it's not. Why is somebody walking across the room to the printer every 4 to 5 minutes? So start looking at the processes, and we oftentimes can discover ways to improve these services without having to spend additional resources, without having to hire people and buy more phones and spend that extra money. Another concrete illustration is think of processes, think of it like a garden hose. Okay, if you have water that's slowly dripping out of the garden hose, the spigot's turned all the way up, what do you typically do? Before you call the plumber, before you replace the garden hose, you're going to go back and you're going to unkink it. In all likelihood, the flow will be restored, right? In government, the processes are like these garden hoses, okay? And too often, our processes are kinked up from just years and years of complexities, regulations, or just people never even taking the time to look at it. They're kinked up and they're cutting off our capacity. We straighten up, we streamline the processes, and we increase the capacity without actually having to replace the hose, without having to call the plumber or the consultant to spend money to come and tell us how to fix something that all you have to do is straighten it out, streamline. This is essential to the mentality of doing more with less that we're trying to spread in Tennessee government. And by focusing on improving these processes, we believe that we can unlock part of the muffled capacity. But remember, Tennessee has 42,000 employees. So to truly be more efficient and effective, we cannot depend just on the handful of executive level staff to analyze these kinked up systems. We truly have to start empowering frontline workers in our state government to be creative problem solvers, to every day incrementally make the work that sits in front of them on their desk, make it more efficient and effective and better for the customer. And state government with the most brilliant person cannot possibly be an expert on all the different services that we offer. One solution, revolutionary. Why don't we depend on the experts, the frontline workers, the people who do that work? Give them the tools to think about the process, about the customer, about efficiency, and let them be a part of the change. And we found in Tennessee so far, as we're starting to do this, that people love it. It's really, really growing there, and we have high hopes for lean management, for empowering our employees to be part of the change. And another tool to sort of add to this tool belt of looking at this management and the process and the systems is that we're soon going to provide our employees with a professional quality customer service training. Previously, Tennessee did not have a unified vision, did not have a unified model or benchmark for customer training. Whether you're a state trooper, whether you're a caseworker working in a call center, there wasn't a standard ideal customer service experience. Now, we're actually working with an ex-Disney customer service executive, and we're right now creating a training program and a state branding that really will be applicable for all agencies, for everyone to unify behind, and for everyone to have a same standard of customer service in Tennessee. The hope is, again, that in the future we're going to trade in all of our unwilling hostages for some grateful customers. Lastly, given this variety and this multitude of services offered by government, Tennessee is also utilizing better performance metrics to track all the different moving parts. As Vince Lombardi purportedly said, if you're not keeping score, you're just practicing. If we're going to improve, it really is simple enough. We have to keep score better. This means, on one hand, tracking the efficiency proposals that we've come up with in Tennessee in a top-to-bottom review and customer-focused government. In fact, there's a McKinsey study that claims that over 90% of public sector transformation programs fail. And this is largely due to inadequate performance management. Sustaining change, especially in government, means having accountability, and that means visual measurements to confirm that action is being taken and that the outcomes actually are improving. Furthermore, to have a central office that, again, is capable of being educated on the relative performance of call centers, of Medicaid, of mental hospitals, and all the other services offered by state government, I hope I've communicated that's not an easy task to do centrally. So in order to gain an idea of the performance of our services, we have to start looking at performance management. There's too many services, there's too much variety out there for us. Last January, in the top-to-bottom review, we also asked each department for key metrics to begin tracking the performance of their key business areas. These key performance indicators now can give a centralized group the ability to measure the relative success and shortcomings of this diverse function of state government. In Tennessee, we also have performance-based budgeting, which is currently in place, which essentially ties performance and metrics to funding sources. So outcome-based to funding sources in our budget. Tennessee, again, is continuing to look at ways to improve this tool as well and ensure that efficient and effective outcomes are actually happening. Additionally, Tennessee will soon unleash a dashboard, which is what we were talking about with what Virginia does, which is an external showing to the taxpayers, to the citizens, how our performance metrics are actually measuring up to the key goals that we've set. Governor Haslam has the overarching goal of making Tennessee the #1 state in the Southeast for high-quality jobs. So some friendly competition for y'all. The governor has identified some priority areas to get us there. So a number of different things to get to the overarching goal, and metrics are tied all along the way. So what we have is this dashboard, we have these agency metrics, and it's allowing us in Tennessee to centrally measure the movement of Tennessee government across the diverse business functions, all towards this unified goal. So rather than leaving accountability up to the individual departmental silos, one of the best ways to get this complete view of the business trajectory of a state is through performance management. So that, in conclusion, to make Tennessee a stronger state, to make it more efficient and effective, to serve our customers, the taxpayers, we literally are looking from top to bottom in our government, to how many printers we have, how many computers we have, to make opportunities for improvement. Many of our opportunities have already been found, like I mentioned, in the way we do IT, purchasing, real estate, paper efficiencies, or the vehicle management of the state. But we believe Tennessee should not only improve efficiency when the times are tough. We hope to build a culture, and an organization, and a legacy run more like a business that takes pride on its ability to do more with less, and to see ongoing efficiency and effectiveness as the noblest and highest service to our customer, the taxpayers. So through focusing on the processes and the systems, empowering our customers, empowering our employees, focusing on the customers, giving them the training to change the culture there on one hand, as well as looking at outcomes and the performance metrics to actually keep score on how we're doing. I believe Tennessee right now has started down the right path to begin running government more like a business and more efficient and effective. Thank you.
Thanks, David. You laid out a lot of the background of what I was going to say as well. So I'm going to condense my remarks into about 2 minutes, because we've got 10 minutes left on this program, and I know where I stand, both being between you and lunch, and I've had a lot of practice over the past year of learning not to make my boss late for his events. So he'll have the opportunity to speak about some of what Alabama is doing on performance management. But let me first start by thanking PARCA for what you do. Specifically you, Jim, and Gordon and the Board of Directors. It is a phenomenal resource for the state of Alabama, both as a state as a whole and the government specifically. When I had the opportunity to be on this program at this event last year, I told you that it was actually, I believe, that morning that the PARCA Board of Directors approved devoting a substantial amount of PARCA resources to Governor Bentley's Commission on Improving State Government. And it has been a fantastic partnership between public and private sectors and public and private leaders over the course of the past year that you'll hear a lot about from Governor Bentley today, and that you'll hear a lot about from Governor Bentley and the administration over the next few weeks and few months, and that you'll hear more about from President Pro Tem Marsh in a couple of minutes here. David is exactly right. It's hard to run a state like a business, and it's hard to run a state efficiently. You may not be able to see it from where you're sitting, but both David and I have a substantial number of gray hairs coming in because of our efforts in that regard over the last year and a couple of years in his case. I want to give you just a couple of examples of what the state of Alabama is doing and what Governor Bentley is doing to try to further this performance management. And at its core, performance management is about getting more with less. And for Governor Bentley, it's about two things. It's about identifying great leaders who can lead their departments and lead their agencies. And it's about identifying the processes that can be improved to cut across state agencies. So 4 quick examples of what your taxpayer dollars are doing for strong results in Alabama, represented by people who are here today. Dr. Morton, sitting back on your back left, with a state and local tax system that takes in less money than virtually every other state in the country. Some years were 49th, some years were 50th. Has managed over the last few years to bring Alabama student achievement dramatically forward. For the first time this year, based on last year's tests, our 4th graders are performing at the national average on student achievement on a nationally based standard. And that is phenomenal to be able to have that in Alabama with the resources that we put into it. It's a testament to Dr. Morton's leadership and to the state's leadership and prioritization to make that happen. Frida Hill, the chancellor of our post-secondary education system in Alabama, again, operating on as little as anybody in the country, has the workforce development program in Alabama as consistently recognized as one of the best in the country, if not the best. Zelia Ball, our Commissioner of Mental Health, is operating the department today with 700 fewer employees than the department had just over a year ago. That's out of 2,500 employees. We've lost 700 employees with almost no reduction in services. That's purely through prioritization of resources, through outsourcing contract for maintenance needs, for dietary needs. It's for consolidating our mental health resources and our services into the most appropriate places. And it's moving clients, mental health clients, out from institutionalization settings into the community where they can be better served and be better contributors to the state and to the community. So not only are we're now leading the nation in terms of deinstitutionalization, and we're doing it with a substantially smaller workforce. Commissioner Buckner of DHR, is she here? Another similar story, she is here in the back. DHR now has about 400 fewer employees than they did 4 years ago. With that employee load, we've increased our food stamp caseloads by 85% because of the economy. Our TANF recipients have increased by over 60%. The department is managing all of that with 400 fewer employees, while at the same time earning national awards for the increases that we've had in child adoption placements. It's really just these are 3 specific examples of great state leaders using taxpayer dollars efficiently and effectively. But David was exactly right. You've got to look at the processes as well as the people, and that's what the Commission has been doing over the past year. We've had a team of state governmental leaders meeting on a regular basis over the course of months with private sector partners. Fred McCallum's here from AT&T. Protective Life was heavily involved. Alabama Power was heavily involved. The University of Alabama provided tremendous resources in the public-private partnership. And the Alabama Policy Institute, Gary Palmer is here, was an invaluable partner in the process. Through all of that, we've been looking at some of our processes and systems so that we can gain some significant efficiencies that cut across state departments. So it's not just something that one person in one department can do. And a couple of examples of that are both revamping and improving the performance management system that we have, or evaluating proposals for significant projects of statewide importance, prioritizing those projects and implementing those projects with strong project management processes. Our state payroll and our state purchasing systems are both over 20 years old. Through the course of the last year in working with these public-private partnerships, we've identified about $20 million that we can realize in savings over the next 5 years by moving to an electronic and online purchasing system, and about $75 million in net savings over the next 10 years through updating our payroll systems so that we can finally move from a paper-based and a labor-intensive-based payroll and timekeeping system into a 21st century practice that's consistent with the way that business does it and the way that states should do it. Those are just a couple of examples, and we're working on so much more that I don't have the time to talk about. A lot of this can be done through the executive branch administratively, and Governor Bentley will be implementing those. These are not commission recommendations that will sit on the shelf. They are being acted on. They will be acted on. And then another component of it that Governor Bentley will speak to in a few minutes has to do with bigger picture reorganization of state government and realignment. And we've been working very closely with Senate President Pro Tem Marsh and with the legislative leadership to identify the areas where we can wring efficiencies out of the process. Your taxpayer dollars are being put to good use, and they will be put to better use, even better use in the future. I'll turn it over to President Marsh now. Thank you.
Pretty obvious I'm the old guy in the bunch. I'm the one with glasses. I kind of want to talk a little bit about the upcoming session and kind of what you'd expect. And we've been calling it with the session of the 3 E's of employment for the job creation, which we're very serious about. The education component, which we also think is key for job growth. And then efficiency, which is what I'll talk about today, because obviously that's what this panel's about. I was very encouraged when the governor was elected. He had one of our first conversations is his interest in efficiency in state government. And if you have an efficient state government, 3 things happen. One, you serve the citizens better, more efficiently, obviously, and that's extremely important. You save the taxpayers money, which is also important. And third, which I'm very, very key on, is reducing the burden on the private sector. Because the larger and more inefficient that government is, there's no 2 ways about it, it creates pressure on that private sector. The governor's initiative, which was released to me last week, the Alabama Commission on Improving State Government, is a look at some of what David was talking about of the initiative he put together early on in his campaign to look seriously at ways to improve state government. And as we all know, there are many things the governor can do, but there are also many things that will have to be dealt with through the legislature. And that's what I'm excited about. One of the first things that I did as pro tem was reduce my own budget, cut the budget in the pro tem's office by over $1 million. Basically cut it, I think it was about 60%. But we took some of that money and we used it to bring on an efficiency division, which we have on the 3rd floor. And we used an Auburn University for Center for Government to help facilitate the efficiency studies. And we've done several studies over the break of the legislature, and we actually implemented some legislation. We did Senate Bill 409, which was a comprehensive tax audit of government agencies, which is underway now. which we believe has the ability to find monies that was paid by state agencies that will hopefully will be refunded to us within this next year. We're very optimistic on that taking place. One of the first things we'll see, I believe, in this upcoming session, there are several study groups going on, and the reports on those will come back within the next couple of weeks. One is that I'm excited about, and we've already got some legislation drafted there. Again, I believe in practicing what you preach is dealing with the legislature itself, and that is combining those departments that serve the legislature, like Legislative Reference Service, Legislative Fiscal Office, the Law Institute, others that actually serve the legislature, and combining them under one division called Legislative Services. We realize as we go out and we start talking about efficiency in state government, it is extremely important that we look right at our own backyard first. We have, in my opinion, a lot of opportunity, obviously, right now. If you look at the dynamics we've got, you've got a budget that the talk is going to be $500 million short in the general fund. You have the governor who has taken a no tax pledge, and many legislators who have done the same. So when you have that combination, I think it lends itself to a real look at efficiency and reducing the size of state government. And I'll tell you what else you have right now that I'm very encouraged about. I think you have as hard a working legislature that you've ever had that I've been a part of. I don't know how many members of the legislature are here today. I think I saw Senator Figures here. Any other members of the legislature here today? I see Jim's here. Anyway, the members that are considered, Representative Boyd is here, but don't want to leave it. But I was extremely. If you've watched the last session of the legislature and the dedication to get the job done, I would say it was probably one of the most productive legislative sessions that we have ever seen. And if you look at what all took place in terms of reform, it